In comic books, death is not as deadly as it may sound. Only the likes of Uncle Ben and the Waynes will ever stay cold in the ground, so characters as big as Superman, Batman, Captain America, and Iron Man have all met the Grim Reaper, but have then miraculously been saved from death. It's fitting then that comic book movies have gone the same way, pulling the old Disney death trick wherever possible. With that in mind, I'm Ben from What Culture, and here are 10 comic book movie deaths that didn't last. Number 10. Agent Coulson, The Avengers. Having gotten the upper hand on Loki aboard the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, Coulson forgets he can teleport and is stabbed in the back fatally. He dies a hero, having stood up to Loki and is used as a means to unite the Avengers against him. But then he appears in spin-off series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. without a scratch and presumably furious at his boss for ruining his priceless Captain America cards. How did it happen? Well, he was told S.H.I.E.L.D. revived him normally, but it later turned out they'd altered his memory, having taken days to bring him back to life using an alien drug known as GH325, derived from a Kree corpse. You can sort of see why they'd lie. Number 9. Elektra, Daredevil. When attempting to take out Daredevil for the murder of her father, which was actually carried out by Bullseye, Elektra runs into the Irish hitman and foolishly thinks that her training will be enough to best him. It isn't, so he stabs her and throws her off the roof for added fun. But then it all turns out to have been fine when she reveals she's alive by leaving her necklace on the rooftop where she first met Daredevil with a message for him in Braille. Turns out she was revived by magical blind man Stick for her own spin-off movie that nobody wanted in the first place. In a fairly pig-headed example of how little she learned from her death, Elektra then goes on to become a contract killer. Nice one. Number 8. Alan Quatermain, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. When Quatermain and young sidekick Tom Sawyer unite to take down Professor Moriarty, he lets down his guard for just too long and is fatally stabbed, before symbolically handing over the heroic reins to Sawyer, who then goes on to kill Moriarty. To prove just how dead he is, he's then buried in Kenya beside his son. Luckily, it's handily revealed after his burial that Quatermain was told by a witch doctor that after saving his village, he would never be allowed to die while he was in Africa. The grave is duly struck by lightning, and Quatermain lives again. Number 7. Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. Faced with the choice of his own death or the death of everyone in Gotham, Batman throws himself on Talia al Ghul's bomb by flying it out of the bay in the Bat, just as it explodes. Alfred cries, having apparently failed his masters by letting their child die, and then goes on holiday. Except that it's revealed that he didn't die in the explosion at all, and is sunning himself around the world with his new girlfriend, having left Gotham and all its escaped criminals to a woefully underqualified stand-in. Robin. How? Well, in a remarkable stroke of luck, the ejector seat was fixed, obviously, and Batman isn't affected by nuclear fallout because he's Batman. Number 6. Loki, Thor 2. Having formed an uneasy alliance with his half-brother to take on rubbish villain Malekith, Loki is mortally wounded while battling the Balrog-like curse and dies. Thor mourns him, proclaiming him a hero and vowing to tell their father of his sacrifice, which he doesn't need to do since it turns out that Loki was just faking and turns into his mysteriously absent father to offer Thor his throne. And nobody even knows how. The writing is so poor by this point of the film that looking for meaning in Loki's recovery is probably folly. Probably just magic or something. Number 5. Catwoman, Batman Returns and Catwoman. 2 separate films have reimagined Catwoman as the poster girl for poor career choices. In both cases, she's killed by her evil boss before being supernaturally reanimated to become the ambiguous anti-hero with a penchant for kitties, leather, and rubber. In Batman Returns, she's literally licked back to life by a clouder of cat. And in Catwoman, she's mysteriously revived by an Egyptian Mao-cat, which gives her cat-like abilities and an insatiable desire for vengeance. Clearly, someone at Warner Bros. Believes cats are basically gods. And who are we to disagree? They're adorable, all of them. Number 4. Jean Grey, X-Men 2. Yet another heroic sacrifice now. Jean Grey was probably powerful enough to save her teammates from the crushing wall of water that killed her from inside the X-Jet, but for whatever reason she chose to be smushed to death instead. No matter though, since Cyclops discovers in the follow-up movie that she wasn't all that dead after all, and celebrates by being murdered by her. Hooray. It turns out her act of heroism unlocked her evil twin identity that was being locked down by Professor X for years. It was something to do with a power surge, but it's not adequately explained in the movies. Alright. Number 3. Lois Lane, Superman. In the original Superman, the Man of Steel managed to only stop one of Lex Luthor's missiles from killing his mother-in-law, letting the other blast into the San Andreas Fault. Cue an earthquake that traps Lois Lane's car in a crevice and filling it with earth to kill her in an alarmingly gruesome manner. Luckily, Superman at that point helpfully remembers that he has the power to turn the world back on its axis to reverse time. Obviously, time travel is a wonderful healer after all, including to fix bad storytelling choices you want to cover up. Sick burn. Number 2. Superman. Batman vs. Superman. Of course, Superman would be another to give his life up heroically to save the world. In Batman v Superman, having resolved his issues with Batman, dealt with some mummy issues and wildly played with the laws governing how much kryptonite actually affects him, Supes dies taking down Doomsday. Everyone mourns, there are 2 funerals, and Batman goes off to set up the Justice League for a movie we all assume will feature Superman returning in long-haired, moody form. But we didn't even have to wait for that film to come out for a tease that he was already alive. Number 1. Professor X. X-Men: The Last Stand. When Professor X and his great nemesis Magneto discover that Jean Grey has escaped to her childhood home, they both race to save/recruit her. Unfortunately for Xavier, she's not at all pleased to see him after he controlled her mind for 20 years, so she levitates him before bursting him into a shower of boldy dust. Nobody could possibly survive that. Except it's revealed at the end of the movie that Xavier is still alive in the body of a comatose patient under the care of Dr. Moira McTaggart. How? Well, the DVD commentary clarified that the comatose body belonged to a brain-dead twin who had been born that way because Xavier had basically stolen all of his brain power, which in itself suggests that Xavier basically kept his brother alive for decades in case he ever needed to hop into his head. Nice guy, that Professor X. I suppose you could call him a shit brother for wankers. Hashtag shit brother for wankers. And that's our list. Are there any non-permanent comic book movie deaths we missed off? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can even follow me here on Twitter if you fancy. I'm Ben from What Culture, and thanks for watching.